It's like, there we go. Okay, so this is the monthly regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for North Idaho College. So do we have a quorum? I see we have at least four. And Greg was going to be online. Is Greg online yet? Not online yet?
Okay, he's not online yet.
So what do we do? Wait a couple minutes?
I think we just go and they'll bring him online as soon as he's online.
Yeah, okay, let's do that because this is Pledge of Allegiance on my message.
We just need to make sure that when he does join that we note that so that it can be annotated in the minutes, so.
Okay, and I see that Susie is shaking her head. Okay, so the next step is Pledge of Allegiance. So let's go ahead and do that. There you go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I don't want to steal the president's thunder, so I'll be real brief. On my part, there's a lot of really good things happening. And I'll just say that from my standpoint, my background is industry. So in industry, a turnaround is when a company or a part of a company which has been in trouble turns around and improves. At NIC, enrollment is up over, 15%?
Over 15, yeah.
Our finances are in good shape. The board is improving its operations. I've been off working on trying to get our asks from the state legislature, specifically for the Post Academy out at Rathdrum. We're asking money for that. And we had a meeting with President Swain and the legislators on September 5th. And also, I saw Erwin here, but there she is back there. Yeah, we are asking for your money too, and then some for cybersecurity.
Right.
So we'll be pushing that, and I'll be helping where I can with that and working it with Dr. Swain or President Swain too. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say is all the numbers are looking good, so I just wanted to say thank you to the board, the administration, including the president, the faculty, staff, and students for the great work that you have done, and I look forward to a great new year at NIC because we're definitely going the right direction.
Good.
Okay?
Thanks, Mike.
So next we have celebrating success.
Right, and so Tara is going to come up, and I don't know if you're going to bring your students up or not, or Erlene, you're going to introduce her. The surgical technology program, as many know, we have 8 medical professions that have external accreditation, and they all happen at different times independently. So just a week and a half ago now, Surg Tech got theirs. I won't steal their thunder, but they had a pretty good review, and so we're going to celebrate their success. Erlene's going to kick that off.
So thank you, Board of Trustees, Dr. Swain, community members. As Dr. Swain mentioned, we did have the Surg Tech national accreditation visit. It went very well. I won't steal Tara's thunder, but other than to say that we expect that we will receive accreditation for 10 years, which is very awesome. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Tara Lawson-Gilbert, who is the program director of the Surg Tech program, and she'll introduce her team.
Thanks, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thanks, Erlene. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Swain, community members. Like Erlene did state, I am the program director for surgical technology, and we have some great things going on. Bob just taught me the clicker, so I'd like to introduce, like I said, I'm the program director, and then Allie Stinson, she's my co-instructor, full-time instructor for the surgical technology program. And then we added Kelsey Wordsworth, January of this year as an adjunct instructor. She's also one of our NIC graduates from 2022 from the program. A little later on, I will have you, or I'll introduce our students, and they'll come up and share some stories about how they got here and their successes. If Damon Vargas can raise your hand there. He's a current student. He'll graduate in December of this year. Nicole Kilborn, she graduated in July, and she's currently working at Northwest Specialty Hospital. And then I brought the current students. Wave hi. I didn't bribe them or anything. I'll let Allie start off telling you a little bit about what a surgical technologist does.
Hello, everyone. I am Allie Stenson. Like Tara mentioned, I am the additional instructor with the program. And here at North Idaho College, our goal is to prepare these students for entry-level operating room employment as surgical technologists. They are with us for 3 semesters. That takes place over about an 11-month period. During that time, we teach them skills in the laboratory. We teach them about fundamentals of surgery and surgical procedures in the didactic realm. And then on their later semesters, they enter the local hospitals for their clinical rotation experience. When they graduate, they will be prepared to enter the operating room, as I mentioned, and they will graduate here with an associate's in applied science. What is the role of a surgical technologist? Most community members don't know us because we're kind of the people behind the masks. We are the right-hand man or woman to the surgeon in the operating room, and we are diligently responsible for maintaining that sterile field. And we are known as the aseptic police, meaning we kind of police the entire room and make sure that the equipment and the supplies and everything used during surgery stay sterile for the best patient outcome. Our contribution is that we tend to be the stage setters, meaning we are there prior to the surgery, setting up the entire sterile field, getting things organized, and being prepared for that patient and for the surgeon to help them out along the way. We tend to be the unsung heroes of the operating room because when the patient rolls in the room, they've typically already had a little sedation on board. They don't recognize us or remember us as being a part of their procedure, but we are definitely dedicated to making sure they have a seamless surgical experience. That makes our core values that every patient receives equal quality of care. We are always full of honesty, integrity, and having a strong surgical conscience, meaning that if no one is there or watching us, we are still always going to do the right thing by the patient. Our surgical technology motto is Ager Primo, in Latin meaning the patient comes first, or the patient first. So that's just a little bit of background and some insight on what we do as a professional in the operating room. Back to you.
I think so. All right. Now here's the exciting part. Like Erlene mentioned, and also Dr. Swain, we are accredited by CAHEP, is the acronym, Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education Programs. This program was initially accredited in 2019. And like Dr. Swain mentioned, on September 12th and 13th, we had a virtual site visit with our sub-accrediting body who reports to CAHEP, which is ARC-STSA. And within the day and a half, our site visit was incredibly successful. Couple little minor things that were easily fixed, some clerical stuff. Outside of that, we had no Earlene, what do we call the things that are bad?
Findings.
Oh, citations, yeah, we didn't have those. Otherwise, I'd know what it was. The site visitors, when they debriefed with us, honestly, it kind of chokes me up. They were, hold please. I feel like I'm accepting.
Very impressed.
The site visitors stated that they had not experienced for themselves what it was like to have such a strong community involvement, or that the clinical affiliates were so involved and so appreciative of the program and the quality of our students. The site visitors also stated that very rarely can you get community members involved in a program advisory committee, or our requirement is we have to have a surgeon sitting on our advisory committee, and we actually have 3. So they were very impressed with the involvement from the community and the support that we have. They did interview managers and staff members from the local hospitals where we do our clinical rotations. Some of the comments were, we love NIC students. NIC students are ready for the workforce, and they are the best trained surge techs in the region. So that's why I get choked up. They're doing a great job. Prior to the site visit, these were the things I used to brag about, but now I can brag about the site visit. 98% of our graduates passed the national certification, their national boards, and our graduating classes and all graduating classes have achieved a 98% pass rate. The national average is only 73%, so pretty proud of that number. The program has expanded to 2 cohorts a year. We're currently taking 2 cohorts, one in the fall, one in the spring, 10 students each, and applications are increasing, which is exciting. Our new grads, they're making close to $30, if not more, per hour, which is, I think, phenomenal. When I started, I think I made $7.95 an hour, so I'm happy to see our students are making a livable wage. What else here? Several of our graduates have received large sign-on bonuses. Anybody want to take a guess how much money some of our students have got? $20,000. So I...
Sign-on bonus.
Sign-on bonus, just for saying, yes, I accept the job. Currently,
They're all looking at each other wondering where that is.
yeah. And the reason for a sign-on bonus like that is because of the need. Currently in this region, in this area, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, there are 50 job openings right now for these students. So these students will get to pick and choose where they want to work and how large they want their sign-on bonus to be. I think I covered that. The next video refers to our simulation. We are very fortunate here at North Idaho College to have the surgical simulation that we have in our lab. It is far superior to any other surgical technology program that I know of. I attend the national conferences, and because of Miles Larson, our simulation manager, we have something that nobody else has. It's called Learning Space. And what Learning Space allows us to do is there are cameras all over the ceiling, and it allows us to videotape our students, and we can send those videotapes to our students. They can review their techniques and their skill sets and their and to call themselves out on certain errors. And it also allows us to do it. I think that technology makes our students superior because they are breaking bad technique before they even hit the operating room. And I'll show you a little video. This video is the last graduating class, or the graduating class of December. Actually, they haven't graduated yet. We do mock surgery. And in this surgery, we went from a straightforward, easy case that the patient crashed on us and the students had to go emergent. And this is their performance.
3, 4. That's 4 resistance, right? Where's the pickpocket? RBDB. Pickpocket, please.
Pickpocket, we need a pickpocket, please.
Okay, what else? Yeah, 1, 2, right here.
Good job, babe.
Eager, small, medium, large. I got 1, 2, 3. Suction.
I have a pickpocket right here.
One, two, three. Three, right? For a total of. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm gonna 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So as you can see, it's as real as you can get. We have monitored simulation mannequins. We have all the monitoring. Our operating room, our lab is truly like a real operating room. Dr. Swain likes to tell visitors that if we ever had an overflow at Kootenai, that would not be a good day for our community, but if we ever did, we could actually help them out and do surgery in our lab. I'd have to borrow some sterile instruments from somebody, but we certainly could pull that off because we have every single piece of equipment that a real operating room has. So thank you, NIC, the community, for helping us build such a beautiful facility, and it directly affects our students and is making better quality surge techs for our local hospitals. Now I want to call up a couple of our students, Nicole and Damon, if you guys want to come up. Damon Vargas, he is currently one of our students who will graduate in December. His story is unique. It touches me, and I wanted to share that. This is the microphone.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Damon Vargas. I am originally from Tucson, Arizona, and I am here to give some insight on my journey to North Idaho College. Starting my early teen years, I spent the better part of a year in and out of the hospital, and I was inspired by those in healthcare who live with such purpose and confidence. I stumbled upon surgical technology from a high school teacher, and together we discussed everything it would take to get here in front of you today. The list of prerequisites, the shadowing hours, and the all-nighters, and it was made very clear, for this to be done right, I would have to work harder than anyone. So I stuck with the plan. Factories, cherry fields, fishing docks, sleeping nights in my car, overdrawing my bank account, and I went through it all. There was never a backup plan for me. There was never a second guess, and it was clear, and I knew that I would have to be the example for my older brothers, or my younger brothers, sorry. So despite all the pressure and without a chip on my shoulder, I can say that I'm just a couple months away from sitting for the national exam and helping my community better itself. Thank you.
And Damon's done a great job in the program, and I'm really proud of him. Our next speaker is Nicole, a recent graduate from July, and she's currently working at Northwest Specialty.
Can you guys, thanks, Tara, you're the best. Okay, hello, Board of Trustees and community members. My name is Nicole, like Tara said, and this is the mic, Tara. Yes. Okay, thank you. I, obviously, like she said, I'm a recent graduate, and I graduated in July. A little bit about me, I'm a small-town, third-generation farmer's daughter from the local town, St. Mary's, Idaho. Yeah! I know, nobody knows where that is except for if you know where to go up the Joe. Anyways, I originally thought I wanted to be a radiologic technologist, and while working on my prereqs at LCSC, I stumbled upon this amazing professor that informed me about the Surg Tech program here at NIC. He realized that I was more of a hands-on, hands-in kind of person, and he said radiology wasn't for me, and he introduced me to this amazing program. So I switched it up, and the 2 years I spent in high school trying to, get everything right, I changed, and I changed completely. but I would have never changed back. So the reason why I pursued this exact career is there's many different reasons, but the main is I enjoy being the key role of a patient's journey through surgery. It's just amazing to, I know they won't remember me, but see them come in and know when they go out that door that it's gonna be for the best. That makes sense. Also, I love the unpredictability of surgery, or the hands-on, like I said, hands-in part of surgery. Come on, we all know it. Anyways, once accepted into the program, I went through the 3 full semesters, like they said, or 11 months. Now, I went through my clinical rotations, went to Kootenai, Sacred Heart, but I found my home at, not Sacred Heart, sorry, Northwest Specialty Hospital, and they offered me a paid apprenticeship. I won't tell you guys how much I got. Sorry, don't ask. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that was before I graduated, and I was very grateful for it. Since graduation, my most recent accomplishment is that I can scrub 9 to 10-hour spine cases and large abdominal cases completely independently without anybody lending a hand. And that takes a lot of work and dedication to wrap your mind around the amount of instrumentation. You have to know every single step of that surgery and the surgeon's preferences. Everybody's got their own preferences, and surgeons are high. So remember them. Anyways, because of this program, I would not be where I am today, and big thanks to these girls over here. Thanks to the program, I'm a great professional in this community, and I love giving back to everybody here. So thank you all for listening.
Great.
Aren't these pictures awesome? I want to thank you for allowing us to come here tonight and share student success, program success, and I do appreciate your support. Thank you.
Go ahead.
One comment and then a couple questions. And Nicole, those of us that know the Joe and the great fly fishing know where St. Mary's is. Some of us that grew up
That
here.
is true. That is true.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you. You talked about the enrollment increasing. What is your capacity for enrollment? What's your max that you can take?
The max that I could take, like in class?
For the class. Sorry. No, I want.
Not for me.
No, the first one was for you. That was a shout out for St. Mary's and the Joe. But for her, what's our capacity?
When the program initially started, it was 1 cohort a year, 10 students. We've increased it to 2 cohorts a year, 10 students each cohort. And we've tossed the idea around, could we pull off a 3rd? Because the need in the community is so great. So it's something we're looking at, but it takes a lot to train a surge tech, and enrolling 30 students, yeah, not sure.
Well, that was going to be my question, because you said it's a 3-semester course, so you're staggering them as you keep bringing them in. So every semester you're bringing in new students. What's the required teacher-to-student ratio for the accreditation?
In lab, it's 10 to 1.
Okay.
In lecture, there is not a required, but they hesitate, or a flag goes up if you have more than 15 in a lecture.
Okay. All right, I've got one more question for you here. It may devolve a little bit here into multiple questions. In my industry, I'm used to site visits, but my site visit, I can send files back to them electronically, and they can review them. They can ask for specific things. They don't need to really see my office. They really don't need to see me in person. I mean, during COVID, we did virtual. Now we're back to in person, but it's a very office setting, so not very exciting, not much to actually see. For what you've got going here, how did you do the virtual? Did you take your little phone and show everything? Did you send them the video showing the surgery? I mean, how do you do a virtual, accreditation visit with nobody here? Just sit down, look at everything, see the people. Tell me about that.
When we got word that it was virtual, I was worried. I'm like, can I really showcase this?
How do you do it?
They gave us 8 weeks. We had to send in all the documentation within 4 weeks. Every picture of everything that's available to students. So I don't remember the total number of pictures, but I don't know, 100?
A lot.
Then in addition to that, our IT department helped me do a walkthrough that took about 30 minutes. If they needed clarification, we took them back to an area and went through it again. So about 30, 40 minutes of, I carried my Surface Pro around, and
Okay, so
Makes
you're
sense.
able to give them a flavor for what's really happening and a bit of context and the rest of it, because it just seems, again, she's mentioned hands in, hands on, and the nature of it, doing it over the phone doesn't really do it justice. So I was kind of curious.
it was
to pull
all
that off.
Zoom. Yeah, I was on Zoom for 8 or 9 hours that day, and then the next day briefly. But yeah, I was a little anxious about how will I showcase this, but I think we did a great job, and they loved what they saw.
No, it sounds like it, and a lot of preparation and a lot of time invested. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Great job.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a quick comment. You're obviously very proud of your students and your program, and you should be. It's a job well done. We thank you for that, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wait.
Okay.
Terry?
Terry, did you have something?
Well, yes, thank you. I love hearing all of your stories. I love the success that you've shared, and it's just further evidence that NIC is a great community college. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I asked her to brag, and I think she didn't do a good job. I was behind the two slowest drivers in Coeur d'Alene coming down coming down Government Way to get to the presentation because they rescheduled it. So they kind of gave me last minute notice. So I'm driving down, and these guys are driving 25 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone. You can't pass them. So
He's not angry at all.
I was angry. And so I show up 4 minutes late, and I think the thing hasn't started yet. And so, okay, where are they? Usually they're online, everything's going. And no, it's over. I missed it. They said, this is the best program. Now, these folks do these accreditation reviews across the country. And these folks have been doing it for years. And they said, this is the best program we've seen. We have never seen a program that had real MDs come in and work with the students. They were effusive about it and done in 4 minutes. It was really a clerical error, and they had to search to find something to, you need to improve this. And it was like they had a student that had dropped out before they even started that was still listed on one of the pieces of paper. So that was the one deficiency they had. Everything else was the best program they've seen, not just in the area, not just in the state, but the best program they've seen. She didn't do a good job bragging. And this is all them. It is a phenomenal facility. When we take people in there, the folks from Northwest Specialty Hospital, the folks from Kootenai Health, when they go in there, they're the ones that said we could turn this into a real surgical station if we had to. And that's not my words. That's the words of the folks that are coming in. So it is a phenomenal program, but it's one of the 8 programs that we offer that get similar kinds of accolades when they are reviewing it. So Tara, thanks, and thanks to all the students for showing up tonight. It's very, very much appreciated.
I'll brag a little more, all right. There are 400 accredited programs in the country, and the main site visitor, Stephanie Austin, she has done hundreds of site visits, and she said it is the best site visit she has ever been a part of, so that's cool.
Any further comments? How about Trustee McKenzie? No comment? Okay, so.
Audio check. Well, I think just the program speaks for itself with the students pass ratio of the national boards, and very proud of what we do here at North Idaho College. Well done, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And so in medical, the two I'm aware of is one, the nursing program, which is the best in the state and 61st in the nation, right?
Correct. Yep.
I was listening. I do remember. And here we have the next program that I know is very good, and then the radiology technicians.
MLT
I understand is really
goes on,
good,
yep.
and so on,
PT,
and so on, and
yep.
so on.
Yep.
My goodness, this is wonderful.
You mentioned dental?
I can't list them all.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so let's go on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. And you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
Okay, so we have constituent reports, and the first is ASNIC, Joseph Moran.
Good evening, President Swain, Chair Wagner, trustees, colleagues, and guests. My name is Joseph Moran. I'm the president of the Associated Students of NIC, and I'm here tonight to deliver my monthly update on the state of NIC student government. First off, I'm happy to report that we've all made significant progress in settling into our new leadership roles. That was one of the big things we were still working on as of my update last month, but I'm happy to report that we're settling in, getting comfortable with what we need to do, and just really getting it figured out and getting solid in it. We settled into our regular weekly meeting schedule, had our first monthly public board meeting yesterday. We typically don't get a whole lot of public attendance at those, but we make our meetings public once a week in case anyone would like to come and see. We've elected our special positions for the senators that we do have, and we're serving on multiple committees already, with more still waiting to get started, but we've already engaged with quite a few committees and gotten involved in that department. We've been running the Get Involved booth here on the first floor of the sub as much as we can for student resources. And my vice president and I have been running our office hours as well for any students who come in and have questions. In addition, we've started approving FAST grants. We've had 2 FAST grants come in so far. The first was from the Dental Hygienist Club. They wanted a grant to fund a trip they have down to Lewiston, I believe it was, a conference that they had to attend as part of their program. And the second, actually just approved yesterday, was for the Disability Support Alliance to fund some additional marketing materials, shirts, hoodies, and other things to help their club have their identity and promote their club to the students. Unfortunately, we are still struggling to gain additional participation with our students. We're still lacking 3 senator positions. Ultimately, we'd like to have 6. Pretty much the minimum we would need is 4 to be fully functional once the school year gets into full swing, and we're still at 3 at this point. We had 1 resume come in recently that we have yet to review, but at this point we're still just actively promoting at least weekly, just trying to get some more student involvement so we can fill those last few positions. A couple other updates. We've been preparing for the NWCCU visit in October, attending meetings, Blake and I for the constituency leaders, and all of us also preparing for the NWCCU's visit with the ASNIC student government team as a whole. So one of our meetings was with Steve Kurtz, the accreditation liaison officer. He gave us some updates on basically the history of the college's accreditation over the last couple of years, because all of us are coming into our roles without a whole lot of previous knowledge of what has gone on. And finally, Blake and I, we are serving as moderators for the Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. It will be held at the Kroc Center tomorrow evening to ask the questions to the trustee candidates and moderate that forum. So we're both super excited for that. Looking forward to the opportunity to represent the students and help the community learn more about the trustee candidates. And that's all I have for the ASNIC update. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions? None on this side and none on this side? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Faculty Assembly. Kathleen.
Chair Wagner, trustees, President Swain, and this fantastic NIC community, both on campus and off. As of today, only 3 more shopping months till Christmas. On September 12th, we held the second faculty assembly meeting of the academic year. We began, as we're trying to begin each time, by welcoming any new faculty that we have to the assembly. Then we heard some information during our faculty celebrations section, which we do every month to highlight things that faculty are doing, similar to what you do with your celebrations here at the board meetings. And this time it was information from our adjunct professor of modern languages, Carletta Brenneman, who is offering a trip, an 11-day trip to Germany and Switzerland next June, and some of the information from her about what that trip would entail. After that, we heard regular reports from Senate, Student Learning Outcomes Assessment Committee, an advising update, Open Education Resource Committee, and an adjunct faculty report. Then we moved on in the agenda to address the following. So in my chair report, I talked about 4 primary things, and that was reporting to the faculty about, first, the President's Planning Retreat that happened in September, then the working session that happened the next week with Collaborative Brain Trust, our strategic planning consultants, in order to draft the objectives for each of the approved goals in our developing strategic plan, and informed the faculty members that people were going to reach out to them to be on some of these goal and objective teams. Third, talk to faculty about the open forum that is scheduled during the upcoming NWCCU site visit, and also discussed some ways to prepare for that, including reviewing the same set of questions that were given to the trustees during their August ACCT training, as well as becoming very, very familiar with the special report that NIC submitted to the NWCCU in August. Lastly, I announced that the NIC Foundation grant applications are now available and must be sent in to the appropriate vice president or provost for signature by October 11th. We didn't have a lot of business at this meeting. The first one was the election of a Senate alternate. We were still down 1 alternate for our college Senate. I opened nominations, and Cindy Dicken, assistant professor of music, was nominated and voted in by unanimous acclaim. She will begin attending Senate meetings this month. We then reviewed with the faculty the updated calendar for submissions to Curriculum Council for new or revised courses. The new calendar schedule is much earlier than it has ever been, and that was done in order to streamline the curriculum development process, enhance academic planning, and ensure timely implementation of approved curriculum changes. We ended the meeting with an announcement for the good of the order, which I do want to share in a little bit more detail with all of you, about this year's Constitution Day event. If you don't know, Constitution Day is an educational program requirement by the U.S. Department of Education for all institutions receiving federal funding. This was an event this year that was sponsored by Kyle Serrett, our very own Assistant Professor of Native American Studies. It was held on September 19th from 1 to 2:30 in this room. This year's event focused on the role of tribal constitutions in our society, and we were so thrilled to be able to have Vice Chairman of the Kootenai Tribe of Idaho, Gary Aitken Jr., who presented on the Kootenai Tribe of Idaho's 50th anniversary of their tribe's declaration of war on the U.S. that happened in September 20th, 1974. This was a peaceful war as a part of the struggle for tribal sovereignty, self-determination, and land rights. The event was open to the NIC community and regional communities as well. There was a Zoom link that was available for those who wanted to join virtually, and they recorded it. So we have plans to be able to use that recording for later classes and events. We had about 50 people there. It was a wonderful celebration of Constitution Day, And it was a great event. So if you see these things out in the community, come. They have really good food. And it was just a great opportunity to talk about a part of Idaho's history that I think a lot of people don't even know anything about. With that, that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
I have to go over here to see.
Oh, sorry.
To see Terry. Okay.
I was
I'm
going to
trying.
relay. Just one quick question. Did you say that was the Coeur d'Alene tribe?
No, that was the Kootenai tribe of
That's what
Idaho.
I thought, that was the Kootenai tribe. Okay, thank you.
And that tribe, even to this day, only has 63 enrolled members. And that war actually got them the rights to 12.5 acres of land. But then Mr. Aiken had an opportunity to talk about all of the initiatives that tribe has done since that time. And I keep thinking every member of that tribe must be on 9 different committees.
They have also opened a very successful fish hatchery up there.
Yes, they
Yeah.
have. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? No? Thank you very much. Staff assembly.
Good evening, Chair Wagner, trustees, President Swain, and community members. Staff Assembly met on Thursday, September 12th. Each month, Staff Assembly invites a campus department to be highlighted during our meetings. This month, we invited the manager of dining services to speak about the online ordering site, deadlines, and how to place orders for events that are being hosted. Our meeting concluded with good of the order, which included several updates on upcoming events, such as the Constitution Day event. Thank you for your time this evening. That concludes my report. Does the board have any questions?
Any questions? Well, any questions over here or online? I'll take that as no, unless something pops up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you. So, Senate, you're doing this, or? Okay, there we go.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair Wagner, trustees, President Swain, my esteemed colleagues, and community members. Senate met last Thursday, September 19th. During that meeting, Dean Simpkins introduced and stood for questions on the first read of the Academic Freedom Policy 3.05, as well as a new distance education policy and procedure. And that concludes my report. Any questions? Thank you.
That was short. Thank you very much. We're moving right along. Now, the one that, are we going to have something special here?
Well, I'm just-
Imagine this should be a pretty good one here.
It's a good one, yeah.
Go President's report.
Okay, so start off with accreditation. The NWCCU, we had to get our report in, the contingency plan by the 31st of August, and the update report on progress on our recommendations by the 2nd. Both of those were done by the 31st of August. So they were all in. They acknowledged receipt, which is good. And they are now working to finalize the October 14th and 15th visit schedule. They've gone through, I don't know, 6 different iterations of that. So we respond to their needs, and they are changing things around, but we're keeping the board and everyone else informed as much as possible. But that's why you keep seeing those changes, and we got some more today. So it's not final until they show up. All right, so enrollment management. Recruiting is one of the big highlights for this year, and so this is really a significant highlight for fall. We've done really, really well, and because it impacts nearly every area of the college, I want to focus on that tonight. So Kristen and I have kind of rehearsed this in our office, but apparently not here. I'll start by just talking about our dashboard. You'll see it when they get it up. The dashboard is done in Microsoft Power BI. It's a really cool tool. There was a meeting of presidents about 2 weeks ago, and the topic of enrollment popped up, and they shared their, how they track enrollment. And they basically have one graph similar to the one you see on the left-hand side of the screen. They have one graph, and everything's in that graph, and they can't drill down into anything. And it updates once a week for most of the schools we talked about. And how can you manage enrollment? How can you respond to the needs if you get everything aggregated and you only get it updated once a week? So by a teamwork of our IT department and our institutional research, this gets updated automatically at 6 o'clock in the morning. IT takes a snapshot of the whole database, and then the institutional research guys have it plugged in to pull that and populate the data with new data every morning by 7. So this is all done automatically, and it's really cool and very dynamic. So I showed it to the presidents on a Zoom call, and so the next thing is our data guys are getting calls from their data guys saying, how did you do this? Because our presidents want one like this too. So this came about just by asking questions, and they finally got so fed up with my questions that I think they made the dashboard. They won't tell me that, but I think that's how it happened. So as you can see, I can kind of see, but as you can see, if the numbers haven't changed, overall enrollment is up 15.6%. You can see that at the bottom of all the charts where the data is shown there, 15.6%. So if you own a business, being up 15.6% year over year is pretty good news. So that's great. Last year, you can see where we are now, and I don't know if Kristen can show that, but where we are right now, we're kind of at this trough where the dual credit students have mostly registered and are enrolled, and they're indicated there. But then we have another late start, an 8-week late start that the classes start on the 14th to 15th. And so last year, between now and our census date, which is the 15th of October, we added about 100 students. So if we do as well as we did last year, you could see this number go up by another 100. So it's still in play until about October 15th. So these numbers are all as of today, but they're not definitive. So just keep that in mind. The last late start class starts on the 14th, and again, census day on the 15th. The high water mark for last year, total enrollment was 3,985. So if you do the math and just figure out where we are now versus 3,985, we're up about 14%. So that I think we're going to end the year somewhere between 14 and 16% overall, and that's a big increase. And remember that as a college, we've been down 3 to 6% every year since about 2012. So having any increase is a big turnaround. Having a 15% increase, and so instead of, if you think about it this way, you could have predicted a 3% decline based on our trend, and so having a 15% increase really means an 18% increase over what was expected. So that's pretty phenomenal, and I'd say that kind of increase is just a real manifestation of the amazing work done by the professional staff at the college. They have really kicked in, and as it was reported in the paper, you can go around and talk to most of the people on campus that are in the enrollment or academic side and ask anyone, and they're all excited. They look at the number, they pull this up every day and look at the impact that they had from the work the day before on the overall enrollment numbers. So this has turned into a big deal, and I'm really proud of how the faculty and staff have responded. So this is good. But I want to take a moment and drill down into some of the other information. So this is the test on our coordinated rehearsal here. So if you look at just new students, okay, so we can drill down and look at all this stuff. You just look at new students, which I think is a real leading indicator of the community's trust and confidence that we're doing the right thing here at NIC. So just looking at new students, we're up whopping 40% over last year. So now our challenge is to keep those students, but right now up 40% on new students. And that's bucking a national trend where enrollment increases are typically this year around 2 to 3% for new students. So we're up 40%. And as you can see, something else that we're bucking the trend on is male enrollment. I don't know if we can see that, but if you look down here in the bottom, male enrollment across the country is in a decline. And the male students are not, they're not showing up in higher ed for career and technical education or anything else. So we're up 65% in male students overall. So that's in new students. So that's another remarkable bucking of the trend. So now if you look at new full-time students, so it's just the students that are showing up full-time, this is the reason why our parking lots are full. We're up 35% over last year, and male students up 40%. So again, those folks are showing up every day. They're full-time students. That's a huge bump over last year, and I hope the slides are keeping up with me and what I'm saying. I have to take my glasses off to read, and I can't see the screen without them, so bear with me. So now if you take off dual credit, because some of the trustees have said, what's the investment in dual credit? So take that off. Just take off dual credit and say, yeah, and we actually do have about 80 students that are dual credit, that are taking dual credit full time. So yeah, that is a thing. But we're still up 32% overall. Yes, good slide. So even without dual credit, full-time students up 32%. So now we're going to look at all students and take out dual credit. So now we'll look at everybody that's here and just turn off dual credit. So give her a second to show that. So everybody without dual credit, and you can see it's kind of cool because both charts on the graph, both charts change, the last year's and this year. So we're really comparing apples to apples, and we're up 6% if you take out dual credit, which is, again, the national trend. And when they talk about the national trend being up 2 or 3%, that includes everything. So even just looking at regular students, no dual credit, we're up 6%. So actually 6.1, but okay. You get the idea. So now one of the goals that the board gave me last year, and of course the staff took this on, is to look at enhancing career and technical education, because Parker Center, if you haven't been there, it's a world-class facility. But since it opened in 2016, it's been at about 60% capacity. And so one of the goals was to try to raise the participation and get more students involved in CTE. So let's take a look at that. We're going to look at new full-time CTE enrollment. New full-time CTE enrollment. So you got to change it to full-time. Yep. Okay, can you see those numbers? 59.8%. I'm going to go with 60. We're up 60% over last year. So that's why the parking lots at Parker are full as well. 60% increase over last year. But the growth is not all in Parker. So we, with one of our CTE grants, we increased the facility for our graphic design program. And as a result, they doubled the number of students. They added a whole nother cohort. So they added a cohort, and it's full. The site, which is one of our computer science programs for CTE, and our cyber program, both have full classes here on main campus. So that's another impressive outcome. I also note here, CTE is a traditional male-dominated for students. But if you look here, what do you see? 87% increase in female participation in CTE programs. So that's another remarkable increase there. So what do I attribute that to, you ask, because I'm sure you are wondering. They started a program called Women at Work out at the Parker Center, which is phenomenal. They had a whole bunch of women that are in those professions, from auto body, I mean, all of the CTE that you think of as traditionally male-dominated, there are a lot of women that are in those fields, and they're very lucrative. You can make a lot of money at them. And so we had a workshop out there where the students got to talk, or potential students got to talk to those women that are in those professions, and you start to see a change in the enrollment numbers. Also, Louisa Rogers, that you've all met, that runs the Center for New Directions, she has a Women's Wednesday, and those are not young women that she's working with. They're usually women that are, single moms with sometimes, as you guys, if you were paying attention last year, there was like one woman that came in with like 6 kids. And so she has those workshops every week for Women's Wednesday, where they talk about the career opportunities for women in those fields, and then she helps build the framework for them to be able to get to those with childcare, sometimes housing, transportation, all the things they need in order to be productive members of society and set a good example for their families. Okay, last thing we're going to look at is dual. Now let's look at just dual credit. So we're going to look at new dual credits. Wait for it. New dual credits and take off full time. Yeah. Okay. So new dual credit, we're up 58 and some change. So I'll call it 59%. With male students increasing, yesterday was 104. Today I was disappointed. It was down to 92. The participation of male students is 92% increase over last year. So that represents a lot of work. Doug Hawk, who was a great member of our leader of our dual credit program, he left to go take on another adventure of his own, but set us up for great success this year and has a great team. They're out in the schools working to rebuild relationships with the schools to build that dual credit, and so work through all the little glitches that have happened over the past, and you see the result is we're up 59% and 92% for males overall. So I'll just say, like, most of the folks you see over here are the ones that did the bulk of the actual work, and I just bugged them about the numbers and where are we and help facilitate some of the work to get it done. But these guys really are the team leads here. So I'm going to stop for a second and say thanks to those guys for all the work. So that concludes the slideshow. Now I'm going to talk about some community stakeholder engagement. I spent the morning up at Sandpoint doing they have every year an economic development community meeting, and we brought Christine Callison, who is our Sandpoint coordinator. Colby Matillo was up there. Tammy Haft, our Dean of Enrollment Services, was up there with them. They are really looking to us to help them keep their kids in the community, educate them, help develop their workforce. And so we've got some real rebuilding to do with the folks in Sandpoint. And so we're up there doing that work. I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Let's see, this is upcoming, so I'm going to, our men's soccer team is I think one of the only teams left in NJCAA that's undefeated. So they're doing great work. They did tie, but technically they're undefeated, right? And then we had one of our students won gold, best in the country for auto body repair. So that's a real nice thing that we're doing. And if you've ever, like I have, had your vehicle in for repairs and it just seems to take forever, we need more folks in those careers. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the Rathdrum Rumble, which is going to be this Saturday from 10 to 2. And it's a great way to go if you haven't seen the Parker Center. I think last year Sheriff Norris went out there to see the Rathdrum Rumble and didn't know that the Parker Center existed. And he got to walk around the Parker Center and see what a really cool facility it was. So there are a lot of people in the community that are not aware of the Parker Center. Fewer now because of our enrollment numbers, but there's still a lot of people that don't know about the Parker Center. So I would just encourage folks to go out and look at the car show. It was great last year. I'm a kind of a car guy, so I really enjoyed going out there and seeing that. But they did a heck of a show last year, and I'm sure it'll be better this year. Our Workforce Training Center program alignment is part of our strategic planning initiative. We're working to stack non-credit credentials. So think about things like mine safety, which we teach. We're the regional, we run the regional mine safety program, but there's a one-day program for forklift operator that we do. and those programs typically don't transfer into the 4 credit. Even at the CT, for career and technical education, they don't transfer. And certainly for the regular associate's degree program, there's no associate degree in forklift operations, right? So you can't stack those degrees. But if we combine them into different things, then and this is something we're working to do, is try to combine those different 1-day, 2-day, 3-day classes into credit-based programs so that students don't have to start over. They can, if they take a class, they figure out hey, I can do this. This welding stuff's cool. I'm going to take the 2-year welding program and sign up. They don't have to start over. And so those are the things we're working on. And Colby is I think he was still up at Sandpoint. He's not here tonight. Their numbers don't count in the numbers that you just saw. The Workforce Training Center is non-credit, so they don't count here. But they're up 123% over last year. And those are the ones that, they develop programs and training that is very responsive to industry because they don't have to go through an external approval process. You want a training program, they can set it up for you and run it, up 123%. And last year, they were up over 100% from the year before. So they're really on fire. They're doing great things. And and you've heard that from Vicki Isaacson last year when she was running the program. She's now the dean over both Workforce Training Center and Career and Technical Education. So the trend continues. They're doing great things. Support for athletes. You'll hear a report from Sean, our athletic director, a little bit later. He'll talk about some of the things we're doing to support our athletes, which has grown quite a bit this year. And then you're going to hear from Sherry and Alex. I haven't seen Alex. He was here yet, but you'll hear an information item on the agenda about academic freedom and free speech, but it's really time, place, and manner of free speech, because the free speech is actually defined by the Second Amendment, so we don't try to change what that definition is. We just say, here's where, when, and how you can do it on our campus. You can't stand up in the middle of a class and exercise your free speech because that's disruptive. And then the last thing is strategic planning. We had a half-day session with our strategic planning consultants, as Kathleen Miller-Green noted, and we're now working on setting those objectives and building the work teams that are going to flesh out those plans, establish the objectives for those 5 approved goals. Our next session with them is scheduled for October 8th, and we're going to finalize all those teams and build out the next layer of detail and the schedule for implementation. So subject to your question, that concludes my report.
Any questions besides this sounds great?
A very positive report. Thank you.
Any reports? How about online? Anything, Mr. McKenzie? None?
No,
Okay.
No, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for letting me know. So super, and I used the word turnaround.
Yep.
Yeah, the super tanker has been turned and is now going the right direction, and that's really good because it takes a lot of effort to do that. I know that. Okay, so that's the president's report. Information items, human resources. Is that Sarah?
Sarah's going to do that.
Sarah,
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair Wagner, trustees, President Swain, colleagues, and guests. My name is Sarah Garcia, and I am typically the Vice President for Finance, but tonight I have the honor of presenting on behalf of the Human Resources team. The Chief Human Resources Officer reports directly to the President of the college. That position is currently vacant and under recruitment. In the interim, our Assistant Director of Human Resources, Melanie McLean, has been serving as the interim while we actively search to fill the vacancy. The mission statement for the North Idaho College Human Resources Department is to provide professional assistance to recruit, retain, and engage our most valuable asset, our employees. They are dedicated to clear communication, progressive thinking, and resourceful solutions in support of the mission of NIC. Our first slide this evening is a comparison of employee headcount between FY20 and FY24. As you can see, we've had a decrease in the number of employees in all of our categories. The number of full-time faculty has decreased 28% and part-time faculty has decreased 20%. This is a direct correlation with our enrollment numbers over the same time period. Full and part-time staff also decreased over that time period by 5% and 17% respectively. These decreases, as well as difficulty recruiting qualified candidates, have resulted in some areas that are minimally staffed on campus. And as enrollment increases, we're feeling stretched. Employee departures in FY24 were lower than they were in the prior 2 years, which is due, we feel, to the efforts made by the college to focus on the retention of current employees, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. The significant increase in departing employees in FY22 and FY23 appear to be a result of the uncertainty with the college's accreditation situation, as well as opportunities that are available in the local job market. How do I know this? Well, benefit eligible employees are invited to complete an exit survey when they leave the college. In FY24, approximately 40 employees chose to do so. Multiple responses are allowed, so these numbers on the slide add up to more than 100. But the top reasons given for leaving were a better work-life balance, better opportunity for career growth, more flexible or better work schedules, and better company reputation. As I move on to the next slide, you will see how we have taken this feedback and incorporated it into our retention efforts. Employee retention has been a significant focus of the HR team and the college as a whole. When we looked at the slide with departures, there were 92. What you don't see there is that over the course of the fiscal year, there were 135 separate recruitments that were undertaken over the course of the year and 103 positions that were filled. The college benefits by retaining good employees and preserving institutional knowledge. So to address retention, we've focused on these things for this fiscal year. One of the things we did is implemented a remote work pilot and encouraged the use of reasonable alternate work schedules to help retain employees. That was one of the, that work-life balance was one of those reasons why employees cited they may be leaving NIC. We also provide professional development funds to give employees the opportunity to get additional training and education. This year, we started doing group professional development. So we would have a group of people, a department or a division who wanted to get trained all together on something, and so we provided funds so that the entire department could get all the same training at the exact same time. And we found it was very successful and very popular. Additionally, in spring of 2024, we completed the compensation study, and during the FY25 budget process, recommendations from the study were implemented. The study did identify a few specific job families where we're having trouble keeping up with the market, and we need to continue to watch. The HR team is keeping an eye on those positions as we progress through the year. And finally, for retention, we emphasize wellness. We have a strong wellness program and continue to encourage employees to take advantage of it to maintain or improve their personal wellness. We listen to employee feedback and we try to add additional opportunities for employees to participate throughout the year in things like races that may be held in the community, memberships, help with the membership cost at the Student Recreation Center, and other things such as wellness fairs and things like that. Another critical part of employee retention is employee engagement. This slide shows a few of the events that took place this past year to enable employees to spend time together outside of their normal work environment. We had ice cream socials, a harvest party, holiday cookie decorating, Earth Day activities that included being able to take a little plant home with you, and my personal favorite, which is the Employee Appreciation Day, where the President's Cabinet gets to stand behind a table and serve lunch to all of the employees. So what is our focus for FY25 for this upcoming year? We're continuing to focus on employee retention and evaluating how we can make improvements in that area. We also have an ongoing commitment to the review, evaluation, and update of the human resource policies, of which there are many. And last but not least, we'll be participating, or the HR team will be participating in and supporting the development and implementation of the strategic plan as it relates to the employee base. That concludes my presentation, and I will stand for questions.
Any questions? None? Any questions over here or online? Hearing none, thank you for your time and your effort.
Thanks, Sarah.
Did you want to say something? No? Okay. And then athletic follow-up, are you?
No, so Sean's going to come up and talk through this. He has a little presentation to give about not just budget, but some other updates on athletics.
Good evening, Chair Wagner, Board of Trustees, President Swain, Cardinal fans. This is the September update for athletics. So I just want to go over where we stand with letters of intent. We currently have 149 LOIs that are signed for, and there are 3 still outstanding. Just a slight change from last month. A tuition and fee update. You can see the tuition level breakdown. Again, a very slight change from last month. You can see the budgeted and actual amounts towards the bottom. And like I mentioned at last meeting, we have 5 LOIs that aren't awarded from a budgetary standpoint. We have 2 students still signed to an LOI that are currently not in attendance, and there's reasons for that. But from a budgetary standpoint, we show that we have 45 international students, but there's only 43 on campus. If we look at a 3-year comparison, you'll see the most significant change is the swap between out-of-state rate, which specifically goes to international students and resident students. While it's not 100% perfect, you can see there's a swap between 23-24 and 24-25. Again, this is the first full year we've made that transition from the NWAC to the NJCAA. Also of significant note is the difference of walk-ons. We have 3 times the amount of walk-on students this year compared to previous years. And we are also up 22% in total student athletes compared to last year. Additional services that we're providing as a college, we're providing additional support with ESL services for our international students. The English department has worked hard to identify those students that need that extra help in English, whether it's reading, comprehension, writing. To help those, they're available 2 days a week over in the Writing Center, which has been a big help for our international students, especially those that English is not their first language. So we appreciate that help. And secondly, we're currently in the process of hiring a student athlete development coordinator that'll help with many things, but specifically academic advising for the student athletes, help with our international population, and help with some educational programming for all our student athletes. In terms of community involvement, this year we've done beach cleanup. We've helped with the removal of debris from an old animal hospital in the county. Our softball team helped with Special Olympics a few weeks ago and ran the softball portion and the bocce ball portion of it. We've offered sports clinics here on campus and in town. And then October coming up is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we've identified a few home games in which we'll be recognizing breast cancer awareness. We'll be giving away some T-shirts, and there'll be the ability to donate and support the cause through Kootenai Health. And then the last thing, which is a fun thing, men's soccer just got ranked nationally. If you look, it's down at the bottom, but they're ranked number 20 in the latest NJCAA poll for Division I's men's soccer. Like Dr. Swain said earlier, they're undefeated. It's really exciting. That's a team that had 2 wins last year, and now the fact that they're ranked nationally is pretty exciting. Of other note, we actually play at Salt Lake on Saturday, which if you look is the number 2 team. So that should be an exciting matchup at Salt Lake. So doing good things. We appreciate all the support from everyone, from the board, Dr. Swain, and the community. And I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? No? Yeah, I figured Todd would.
Questions and comments? All right. If I'm noting that, since we've had a lot of interesting press, I'll use that word loosely, about what we're spending on athletics, it looks to me like the budget versus the actual actually got a little bigger spread, and the actual number went down a little bit, another 30,000 or so from the last time we looked at that. So 336,000 went to about 367,000. So we about another 30,000 less out of pocket there, looks like. And those numbers are significantly less than that original fantasy number of 6.1 million that got floated around that some people still seem to hold on to. So it'd be nice if we can get some real numbers so people can't use that as a weapon. Also, one of the things that's interesting is our international participation is up. It's really increasing our diversity. You know, it's interesting talking to the coaches back in the day and how, you know, this campus, everybody wants more diversity, and a lot of our diversity was coming from our foreign athletes and from our other athletes that were being recruited from out of this local area. So it's good to see that we are broadening our horizons here at the campus with athletes coming from around the country and around the world. I also like to see that the walk-on numbers have gone up so significantly. That used to be really a function of the wrestling team when they had 60, 70, 80 in the room. I'm not sure what it's attributable to now, but for people to understand, walk-ons are paying their own way. So when a kid comes in as number 4 or 5 in the room in wrestling, or number 3 or 4 in whatever position they're playing, soccer, basketball, volleyball, they're just paying for the privilege to show up and be a practice body, because most of those guys will never see the floor in a game or on a match or in a whatever. Wrestling, maybe in an open tournament they might get to wrestle, but that's a little different. There's some rules on that, whether they're a red shirt or using one of their years, but open tournaments everybody can go to. So great to see those numbers, and that's an extra revenue source that we're seeing. It's helping to underwrite the money that we're spending for athletics. Now, a couple other things. Mention our soccer, our men's soccer is doing quite well, having tremendous success. Just got back from a long trip, actually. They had some real interesting travel situations and late nights and some early mornings, and the game that they tied, I'm not sure they even were awake at that point, so they gave a pretty good effort considering the travel challenges that they had, and I'm sure you're aware of those. So they're doing pretty good. But now my understanding is, and I went to the Booster Club meeting the other day. We just had the Booster Club meeting, the monthly meeting, and I guess I'm wondering, had heard some pretty amazing things, and you were at the meeting that I was at, so you were part of that. And we're working with the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, because they've got some pretty nice facilities they've put together down there. And I understand we're in the process, or have we completed some sort of an MOU or something, so we can take our soccer teams down there on the 26th of October. I think that was the target. We're looking for some pretty special day down there. Do you have any details on that, or where we're at on that?
Not at this point. Still working through the MOU. So.
Okay. And then you did mention the breast cancer awareness T-shirts. I guess we're ordering a bunch of pink shirts. I think Mr. Stevens has gotten those all scored away. Have we gotten that scored away so we can pay for those and buy them? And have we acquired those yet?
Haven't acquired them yet, but the check will be ready here Friday. So.
Okay. I know that's something we've been working on, so be glad to see that. And that's going to be at the soccer games and
Volleyball and women's soccer.
volleyball and women's soccer. Okay. All right. Just was wondering how we're doing there. And we are revitalizing the Booster Club. We've got some new officers there. Very excited about that. Some really good people that have volunteered from the community. But I know that anybody out there that's listening, if you're interested in working with the Booster Club and helping to support athletics, I know they'd sure love to get a couple more board members and more people just to volunteer and help out. They're already at a point starting to talk about the spring golf tournament, which this last spring was tremendously successful. I know I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I don't golf very well, but it was a great outing. So I'll throw that out there. I'm sure you've been pitching for that too. And to the coaches, if you know anybody that's supporting your program, anybody wants to come help out, we'd sure like to have some bodies. I think that's it for me, unless there's anything that I've stirred up that you can comment to or add to.
Okay.
The only thing I'll comment on is just the walk-ons. Wrestling does make up about 20 of them.
Okay.
And then the other sports make up 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? Just kind of depends on the sport itself, but.
Yeah, they don't really lend itself to a whole lot. I mean, you're not going to throw too many more guys on there for basketball or whatever. So, all right. Thank you, sir.
Great.
Okay. Trustee Zimmerman, you had a question?
Thank you. Sean, could you help me understand how the athletes that don't have English as their first language, what in addition to hiring an additional one person, I think you said, of support, what are we doing to ensure that they are succeeding academically? It just doesn't seem like one additional student aid would help them be successful in the classroom. And are we going to track their grades and see how they are succeeding or not, and how can we help them to do that?
I think most of our international students, why English isn't their first language, I'd be hard-pressed to say if we have students that don't understand English, and not that that means they're fluent or understand it. I think we worked hard to try to get where we are. We know it's not perfect, but we have a couple English instructors that are taking time, you know what I mean, to work with those student athletes, and I think the student athletes that have worked with them are getting a lot out of it. And I hate to say it, it's a work in progress, right, for all of us. We just sent out grade checks. Again, the grade checks we sent out aren't perfect, right? I say they're old school pen and paper, and I know they're not loved by people, but until we find a better solution, but we're trying our best to try to keep on top of those students the best that we can. But yeah, I think it's a work in progress. I think we'll track and see and get some data and see, where we do need some help down the road, if so.
Yeah, I think that would be great if you could do that. And another question is, are the athletes pursuing an associate's degree, or are they taking general studies? What are they actually pursuing here at the college?
I would say majority, right, without looking here. I would say probably a good handful are taking general studies would be my guess. I know we do have some in business, some in other majors. I think the goal is for them to graduate. I do know we're losing, I don't want to say a handful of students at semester that will be graduating. I just got off the phone with one today that's, got their schedule set up to graduate, so they'll be leaving at the end of fall. But the goal is to graduate. I think if you go on to the NCAA and you want to go Division I or Division II, you have to graduate at this point. NAIA is a different story. So in theory, the athletes that come here have to graduate if they want to continue not only getting their education, but they aspire to play on as well at a high level.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
I'll say one thing.
Okay.
I'm confident our teams are going to continue their academic success that they've demonstrated over all the years I've been on this board. We're pretty proud of that, and it's almost a bit of a competition internally to see who's at 3.3, amongst the teams. And the coaches are pretty cognizant of that, and I think they work pretty hard.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
Chair, I have a question.
Greg.
Did Greg have something?
Trustee McKenzie?
Yeah, I can't see Sean Noel there anymore the way that my videos, but I have a question. If is there an opportunity to donate to specific programs through the Booster Club, like say those that are excited for a nationally ranked sports team that want to contribute to that success? Is there a way for community members to engage with that team in a supportive financial fashion?
Yes. If you wish to support the Booster Club and give to the Booster Club, you can specify general, which means, you'll support all teams, or you can specify individual teams if that's who you choose to support.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
to follow on with that, Sean, I'll mention, you can mention, but for folks to understand, the Booster Club has designated pots of money for each of the teams. And they have some overall funds that are just general club boost, general Booster Club. But there are earmarked funds that are fenced, that each of the teams has a little bit pot of money. And there was actually time last year where there was some matching from the Booster Club out of their pots of money for some of the teams, and went and raised some additional funds, specifically basketball, because they were unexpectedly moved into the higher division ahead of the other teams, and were scrambling for the additional funds that they needed to support the program, quite frankly, and for the extra recruiting they had to do at the last minute. So the Booster Club stepped up with money, and some of that was a one-for-one match of what was raised. So they took, but a couple of those sports had to deplete their little pots of money with the Booster Club to do that. In fact, one of the generous things was Corey shared his money with Nate to balance it out, because Corey had more money in his pot of money with the Booster Club than Nate did. And Corey gave some of the money to Nate, so with the matching and what the raised was, they got equal amounts for both the men's and women's basketball. So that was a real stand-up thing by Coach Simmons to help Coach Nate. So.
Okay, anything else? Now you can go.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Overview of academic freedom, I don't know.
So
folks.
Sherry Simpkins, our dean of our transfer program, is going to talk through this. And there's always a bit of a misconception, I guess, of what it means, and so she's going to cover that and hopefully kind of get everybody on the page. And we'll have the first read of the academic freedom policy should be at the Senate this month, second read next month, and then we should have the policy before the board, assuming it gets through without any substantive changes, then by November. So that's kind of where we are and what this ultimately is about. So Sherry, take it away.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chair Wagner, Board, and President Swain, and community. Tonight I'll be presenting on the academic freedom and just providing you an overview. Academic freedom, when you dive really deep, can be quite complex. So if you have very specific, detailed questions, we'd probably want to consult Attorney Boyles on those as well. So academic freedom ties into the President's goal number 9, and something we've been working on over the past year. So just a brief summary of where I'm at in the organizational chart. I'm one of 5 deans that report up to Interim Provost Lloyd Duman, reporting up to the president. So what is academic freedom? Academic freedom as we know it is grounded in 18th century Germany, and there's 2 concepts that tie into that. That's Lernheit, the freedom to learn, and Lehrheit, the freedom to teach. And so you can tell by those 2 things who has academic freedom. Academic freedom applies to students, that freedom to learn, and then on to faculty, that freedom to teach. Academic freedom advances the right of post-secondary students and faculty to pursue educational opportunities that seek to examine, apply, discuss, and build knowledge or ideas without fear of censorship or retaliation. It's in support of the free marketplace of ideas where different views can be shared. So with that, institutions have a responsibility toward academic freedom. The NWCCU lays out 2 standards, 2B1 and 2B2, that both give responsibility to the institution. As you see in 2B1, the institution must adhere to the principles of academic freedom, and in 2B2, the institution must both define and actively promote an environment that supports academic freedom. So let's talk about academic freedom. it's not just pure freedom. Faculty have both rights and responsibilities, and the same is true for students, both rights and responsibilities. So here are a few of the rights that faculty have. Faculty have the right to choose course content and instructional methodologies. However, faculty must uphold the standards of the institution, the department, the program, and the discipline. Faculty have the right to pursue research topics of their choosing. However, along with that, faculty must foster and defend intellectual honesty. Faculty have the right to participate in institutional governance, but as they do so, they must respect the rights of others and make clear publicly that they do not speak for the institution. Similarly, students have both rights and responsibilities. Students have the right to express opinions about course content. They have the responsibility to respect the rights of others who may express differing opinions. Students have the right to pursue research topics of their choice, but they also must complete assigned course content and meet the course outcomes as they're choosing their assignment topics. They also must engage with academic integrity and intellectual honesty. Students have the right to participate in institutional governance, following the college's policy and procedures. And lastly, they may maintain their personal and political beliefs and values. But they also have the responsibility to participate in a learning environment with the free exchange of ideas. So with that understanding, about a year ago, we started reviewing the policies and saw that the academic freedom policies that stands currently on the books was in need of being updated. One of the differences in our policy and the one that's being proposed is our current policy doesn't include the academic freedom of students. And so in December 2023, I chaired a committee with several faculty members from various divisions across campus. We also had an ASNIC representative joining us to really get that student view. The committee met weekly and completed revisions in February 2024. The policy then went on to faculty assembly and was reviewed by faculty assembly and approved by them in April 2024. It had its first read at Senate last Thursday. We anticipate a second read by Senate in October, and then we'll move on to the board in November. And with that, I'm open for any questions you might have.
Questions? No? How about over here or online?
Is the policy or procedure going to address when rights are being violated and the recourses that are available?
So in the policy, you'll see it pointing to several procedures we currently have on campus. So for example, if a student felt like their academic freedom rights were violated, they would move through our current procedure where they work if they have a conflict or a concern with a faculty member.
Okay, so like that procedure kind of lays out their four-step process that the students can pursue?
Correct, yes.
As in, if it doesn't work out with the professor, then, you know, where you can go next, where you can go next.
Correct.
And that's current policy, or?
Students have the right to use that currently because that's a procedure on the books, and that's how we would handle current disputes of academic freedom. But once the new policy is implemented, it will be the same process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on academic freedom? Thank you for the definition. That made it very clear. Thank you. Okay, now you wanted to call.
So Alex is here, and he will talk about and again, it's time, and he had to educate me on this because it's not a free speech policy. It is a time, place, and manner for exercising free speech policy, and it exists on the books, and he's going to give us a little bit of a history of that and where we stand now.
Chair Wagner, members of the board, thank you for having me tonight. My name's Alex Harris, Dean of Students. I'm here to talk about a policy that I think was first written and updated in 2011 and then has been reviewed several times since then. That's where I stand in this tree. Sorry, Dr. Swain, I deleted your name off the top.
It's happened before.
So campus speech activities, time, place, manner, that's what the policy is called. So this is the introduction to that policy. It basically says that NIC, members of NIC and the public, this informs them of the time, place, and manner which they may engage in constitutionally protected speech and expression at NIC, and I'll touch on what the speech is not covered constitutionally. And it's intended to ensure the primary educational purpose of the college, which includes promoting the free exchange of ideas and the dialogue which it creates. So when you look at college free speech and you look at time, place, manner policies and other issues around that, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expressions is the go-to place. It's a nonprofit organization with many attorneys that keep an eye on colleges and universities and their free speech policies. I thought that they did a good job of explaining this. And it basically says, well, I'll just read it to you. The First Amendment protects your right to speak your mind with only limited exceptions. But public colleges are allowed to maintain reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on student speech in public areas of campus. These regulations must be viewpoint and content neutral rules on where, when, and how you can demonstrate on campus. In order to prevent disrupting the educational environment, even in open outdoor areas where campus protests are common, colleges might restrict some or all use of amplified sound, setting up tables or other structures, camping, and overnight protests. To be constitutional, those rules must apply to everyone, no matter their viewpoint, and even when they're not trying to convey a message at all. So these are the categories of speech that fall outside of constitutional protections, which has been shaped by the United States Supreme Court over centuries. I have resources that shows all the definitions of these, but these are not protected speech, according to the Constitution, not policy. Incitement, true threats, fighting words, obscenity, defamation, fraud and perjury, and speech integral to criminal conduct. So in our procedure, which follows our short policy, there's a short part on definitions, defining speech, defining different things, a section that talks about why we would dictate the place and the manner of expression and the time because of access issues to educational environment, traffic, college business, those things. Those are all reasons why colleges can give the time, place, manner. Notification, we encourage people that want to come on campus and exercise their free speech rights to let us know, but we don't require that. Because if it's a large group, they usually do let us know. That way they have a good space on campus to do it and aren't impeding the educational environment. There is also a section in there about administrative interpretation. So if someone has felt that their rights have been violated or gives us notification and has a question on maybe where we ask them to go or what they could use, there's a section in that for that. The authorization of those things, basically who they need to ask at the college and what process they go through, and then how we enforce those things that violate our policy. And those are basically a student would be subject to the code of conduct should they have violated it, and the members of the public may be asked to leave the campus. If I were an attorney, that would probably be 4 hours long, but thankfully I'm not. I'm just the dean of students. Any questions? Yes.
So I think you can summarize the limits on free speech under the word or the phrase "no disruptions to the college business," right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I like the term educational environment, but absolutely.
Sure. Okay, any questions by anybody? Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody online? Greg, you have any comments? None heard. We'll proceed. I'm going to make a comment, Dr. Swain.
Okay.
You can punt this or whatever you want to do with it. Chair McKenzie and I came up with a document last year on objectives, and then I shared that with you, and you did whatever. And the objectives were increasing, in terms of prioritizing, and you did what you did with it. It was suggestion, increasing Parker Center usage, increasing enrollment, and working on free speech and academic freedom. And you've worked on what things?
Well, all of those and more.
That was my point. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Well, we don't have discussion with consent, sorry. Let's go ahead and vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, didn't really need to do that. Greg, you gonna vote?
Aye.
Okay, it's 5-0. Consent agenda is accepted. There's no old business. There's no new business. We have public comments. We have 3 people. So Karen, you're up again, right?
As always.
On the topic of comments, okay.
On what topic?
So
Comments.
I'll explain that. Until such a time as public comments are moved back to the beginning of the meeting so that the public can be heard on whatever it is that's actually on the agenda, I'm just going to list comments for the good of the order, because anything I say has no bearing on the meeting that we just had. And I said that before. So people running for the board have put in their requests, and the deadline has passed. So I would just like to take a moment and say thank you to those that have served and have chosen not to run again. Goodbye. Mr. Chair, I want to take a moment and personally thank you for the effort that you've put in. It has shown that you truly care about this community. While it's been a rough go, you have worked tirelessly with members of the board and the president to get us to where we are today, despite the continued turmoil on the board. That being said, I know my voice is being heard loud and clear across the community. Please take the opportunity to vote November 5th. Thank you.
That's not appropriate.
Thank you. Robert Shepler on accreditation.
Thank you. My name is Robert Shepler, and I'm speaking about accreditation, as I have done for most of the last 2 years. Compliments to the academic side and the staff for all the hard work. They've worked through the majority of the items that were presented by the NWCCU. Every goal that was requested has been hit and exceeded, and that says a great deal about the professionalism of the staff, their dedication to our community, and Dr. Swain, your direction of them. The main item still in issue with the NWCCU is, in fact, the board governance. And while we have seen in the last 2 years a good amount of growth, meetings, Chair Wagner, are much better the last 6 months than they were a year ago. Compliments to you on running that. Many compliments for the work done on the policies changing. You and Trustee Zimmerman worked very hard, taking feedback from the entire board to upgrade those, dragging us kicking and screaming from the 70s into the 2020s. That's a great goal. Very proud of those accomplishments. And you should be. I think the community appreciates those efforts. The board itself, as it sits now, has one more meeting and then one more meeting with the NWCCU on October 14th and 15th, if I've got the dates correct. At this point, I would urge cooperation from the board to make those meetings as peaceful as possible. You've done a lot of good things in the last year, year and a half, and I would hate to see something with the board changing in the next few weeks that would possibly jeopardize or risk that accreditation again. Congratulations on what you've done, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael McGowan.
Good evening. I've spoken in the past about enrollment and made the contention that it should not affect the accreditation process with NWCCU. Just want to touch on that a little bit tonight. It's pretty much a moot point given the numbers that Dr. Swain has shown us tonight. Just so you know, I've done a little independent research myself. Just last night, I went to the studentclearinghouse.com website. They've got all kinds of data about higher education in this country. And they gave the number, I'm just taking one number, which is the new enrollments number. Community colleges throughout the United States, national average, plus 6.2%. A little different than what Dr. Swain gave, but given that it's a month old probably, no significant difference. Comparing that to the numbers that he gave a month ago, for new enrollments, plus 26%. So that's about 20% above the national average. I think we need to give credit where credit is due. That's really an outstanding accomplishment, extraordinary even. So that's the positive news. This is the part that I hate. People are going to think that this is negative news, but it's not. It's just facts. Also on the minutes of the 28th of August meeting, there's a little chart there. NWCCU tracks with some metrics that they use various aspects of the accreditation issue, and one of them is relations between the president and the board of trustees. Most things are going up, but that one is pretty much dead in the water at poor. I want to suggest a reason for that, and I don't really have enough time to do this correctly, but my contention is that given that Dr. Swain was appointed by a co-opted board of trustees, by state appointees, we're going to have that problem going forward if the trustees.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so that's public comment. Remarks for the good of the order. Does anyone on the board have remarks for the good of the order?
I'll say one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just remind everybody, since we've talked about the success of the Parker Center, and what a battle it was to even get that. And some of you may or may not remember, that was a 3-2 vote. And so I guess for the good of the order, I'm going to say we've had a success because we were able to do it, and I was proud to be one of those 3 that voted for it. And it has proven itself. And I guess sometimes we have to have those battles, and hopefully over the long term they prove to be correct. And that one I believe has and will continue to. It's a real win. And it was almost didn't happen. So glad to hear success and that our usage is going up. And I also know that we're increasing our partnership with K-Tech, which is also a very good thing, and supporting the juniors and seniors from our local high schools that are participating in that program. They have the morning co-op and the afternoon co-op, and we're touching a lot of those kids there that are not your traditional students academically, but maybe become a great diesel mechanic or something. So really glad to see how that facility has done so much good here in this community.
Chair.
Go ahead. Trustee McKenzie.
There's great news tonight, and appreciate everyone's hard work in getting us there to these metrics. I'd just like also to compliment that the Parker Technical Center is a phenomenal asset to this community, but I still believe you can only register or get into these programs about once a year and starting in August timeframe. So I'd just like to challenge North Idaho College to make it so these programs that are highly sought after and very desirable just figure out how people can still get in beyond just the August timeframe. So people want it, and it's people want North Idaho College. Gotta love it.
Yep. The school, North Idaho College has a lot of things that the community wants, and they're making that clear. Any other comments? With that, we'll adjourn.